Turd Podcast, episode 164. Lamar, we have a legend with us today, sir.
I mean, yes. I mean, we've been talking to a lot of martial arts people, but we have, like you said, the legend, the star, Miss Cynthia Rothrock. How are you doing today, ma'am?
Hi, how are you? I'm doing great.
Good, good, good. Well, we got to start off. You got to tell us about your new project coming up, Black Creek, and how did this come into play?
Well, I've done over 70 movies and, I'm always like just the actor in it. And I always wanted to do my own film, but, that's a big ordeal to take on. And one day I was just talking with my partner and they said, let's try this. And they said, okay, what kind of movie would you like to do? I said, a Western. And they went, oh, a Western. And I said, yeah. And then it was like, well, what's the storyline? And then we hired a writer and the three of us wrote the script. And then I sent it to a line producer that I know, and he said, I love this script. It's awesome. It's one of the best scripts that I've read for any of the line producing he does on film. So we're like, okay, so that's good. So then we just worked for about 6 months on a Kickstarter campaign. You can't just like throw it up there. We really did research and, we put so much work into this. And then I was in Atlantic City at one of the biggest martial arts event in the world, the Action Mega Weekend. And I said, that's a great place for me to start my Kickstarter campaign. So we did, went live. I think right now we're 6 or 7 days into it. And it's going great. I'm so appreciative. We passed, like I said, our first goal. And so that means that the funds will definitely be released at the end of the campaign. I'm feeling very blessed, very happy that it's coming from fan support, that, the fans out there really, really want to see me make this movie, because I promised them, I said, this, the reason I wanted to do my own movie is because I get to be in control. I get to pick the cast,
Right.
I picked the part that I've always wanted to do. I get to pick the way I look. I get to bring in my own choreographers. So I am like so excited, and I'm determined to make this the best of any of the films I've ever done.
Awesome. Yeah, I was looking at the campaign before. You have some really awesome perks. Can you talk about some of the really cool perks you got there?
Well, we start off at very small, $25. They get a copy, a digital copy of the DVD as soon as it's done, all the way up to probably one of our biggest incentives right now is for people to have a fight scene with either me, Don Wilson, or Olivier Gruner, the other action stars that are going to be in it. And I had 7 spots and they're already taken. So we just collaborated. We said we could add 3 more people. So we have 3 more spots up for that. So probably by the time you wear this, that'll be gone. Executive producer, where, when you first see a movie, the first credit you always see is the executive producer. So we have that where someone could have their name as an executive producer or their company. We have walk-on roles with a line, so many, all the way starting from beginning all the way up. And I just got some very exciting news just right before I got on.
Oh,
okay.
My friend George Chung, who is the CEO of Jungle Plus, which is a streaming network, has collaborated with Black Belt Magazine, which is the most influential, popular martial art magazine in the world. And they are coming out with a new app called Black Belt Plus app. They are going to host the premiere of my movie when it's done in Las Vegas and also in Los Angeles. So it's going to be huge. So I already have that covered. So every day something new, exciting is coming into me, for this project. And it's just taken off so big, and I'm so happy that so many people want to be a part of it.
amazing.
Now we got to talk about this. You say that you get these sponsors that are going to do fight scenes. Like, how hard are you going to go on them? Are you going to be like, are you going to do like just a nice little swipe across the face? Or you just going like full fledged, like, hey, you paid the money, so I'm going to just take your head off. Like, how intense?
In my movies, I never go nice and slight and just very lightly. I This movie is very dark. It's very gritty, and she's very, very powerful. She's kind of, it's funny. It's like we're thinking of a campaign like Move Over Clint Eastwood or, Kevin Costner, there's a new person in town. No, it's going to be really everything in this film is in my mind, it has to be perfect, right? So what I'm going to do, actually, I didn't plan on doing this, but I am going to have a couple days for these people to train at a martial arts studio with my choreographers and with me, and we're going to make sure, and no charge to them, this is all free, and we're going to make sure that they look great, they do great, depending on what, I don't know some of the people right now, so depending on what their skill is and what they could learn will determine how we're going to choreograph them into the fights.
Nice.
Nice.
So you mentioned Black Belt Magazine. You're a Black Belt Magazine Hall of Famer. You've trained in multiple disciplines. What is your history? I know it's a lot, but like, what's the brief rundown of how you got started with martial arts?
Well, how I got started, I was 13 years old, from Scranton, Pennsylvania, and my girlfriend's parents owned a health club. And on Sunday, we would go down to the health club because it was closed, and they would clean all the equipment then. And they had a big exercise room, so we would go there and do cartwheels and flips and all kinds of crazy things. It was a big playroom for us. And then her parents would come in their karate uniforms and start practicing. And I was like, what is that? And I never saw anything like that before. And they're like, oh, martial arts, we're learning how to defend ourselves with our hands and our feet. And I was like, wow, that is awesome. I've always been like an out of the box kind of a person. So that was unusual. That, we're talking like, in the late 70s. That was unusual, for particularly a woman to do, but a lot of people didn't even really know martial arts like what they were back at that time. So I started at the Scranton Karate School, and that was my first discipline, Tung Sido. That right now I'm currently on 8th Dan in Tung Sido.
Awesome.
Now, you've talked about, of course, getting into martial arts. I mean, being a woman in martial arts, but then we got to talk about going into film with martial arts. How was that road? Because, of course, we still have martial arts in film and stuff like that. But for women, it's been like, sometimes it's like, well, yeah, she knows some stuff. But for you've come from like the training and everything, and you've performed with some of the best people. So how is that transition?
Yeah, well, it's always been a long, crazy journey for me. When I first started, I had to compete. My very first competition was as an orange belt, and I had to compete against black belts because at that time there wasn't enough women. And I took second place, and a black belt took first, black belt took third, and I've only been training 5.5 months. At that point, I said, you know what? I'm going to train so hard because I'm going to be the best in this sport. So then I just started competing like fanatically, and went on to becoming a undefeated form and weapon champion for 5 years in a row. In 1982, I always had to compete against men in the weapons because they didn't have a women's division. It was the first time a woman has ever won the whole division for the year. And then in 1981, I was the first woman on the cover of Karate Illustrated magazine, which again opened up doors for more women because of my championships, right? In Los Angeles, the Hong Kong company, which was Corey Yoon, they were looking for a new guy. They wanted to find someone that would be like a next Bruce Lee. And I was training at the West Coast demonstration team, and we had phenomenal performers. And the editor of Inside Kung Fu magazine called Ernie Reyes, who was the head of the team, and said, "Hey, bring your guys down. They're looking for a guy." And he said, "Well, what about the girls?" And they said, "Yeah, you can bring them, but they're really looking for a guy." So we all went down, and I had to do some weapons. I had to do self-defense. I did some free sparring. I did open hand form, and I did a whole bunch of kicks. And Corey Yoon said, "I want the girl. I don't want a guy." And then that was it. Changed their mind, and I went to Hong Kong to do my first movie. June 1985 was with Michelle Yeoh, and that was so successful. Then I just said, okay, this is my transition from professional competition now on to movies. And again, I feel like a trailblazer because the first woman, martial artist, right, that was involved in this, creating the story, writing the story, producing the story, starring in it, and having a successful Kickstarter campaign. So I just feel blessed. It's never been easy. You know, it's always been a journey for me opening up doors for women.
That's awesome.
Yes, it is.
So
Yeah.
now you've worked in Hong Kong, you've worked here in the US. What's the difference between the choreography styles of the Hong Kong films, the US films, and what is going to be your style for Black Creek?
Well, there is a big difference. You know, if you see Hong Kong films, their choreography is a lot more complicated. It takes days and days to do. Where you're doing like American films, like a lot of times that's why you don't see that kind of choreography, because they don't have, like in Yes, Madam, the ending fight scene was a month in itself just shooting that
Wow.
movie. But I've always preferred that because that's the way I like to move, and it's challenging for me. You know, it's very simple if I'm just throwing kick, punch, blah, 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 like that. I have come across a stunt team in Switzerland that I've worked with that I love their choreography. They know how I move. They choreograph the way I do. So I am going to bring them over. So you're going to see some of that Hong Kong action in this. But what I want to have different action, and my director sees my vision too, as far as filming it. So it's not just, here's your camera, go fight. You know, he's got these great angles, you know, that I want to do. And you're going to see some very downright nasty Hong Kong fighting. I guess you could say it.
So, if you had to pick like one fight scene for your whole career that you remember that was maybe the most brutal or maybe just the most memorable, which one would you choose?
I'd have to say it's a movie I did, Righting Wrongs, where I fought with Yuen Bu. And Yuen Bu and I, our technique were very similar. You know, we are sometimes when you fight with someone, you know, something's a little off. One person's is too slow, one is too hard. You know, we just seem to hit the same amount of choreography. The thing that makes it memorable is doing that movie is right before I did that, I blew out my anterior cruciate ligament. I could hardly walk, right? So I told them, I said, okay, yeah, I got this knee injury, but I have to do everything on my left side, right? And I'm a right leg kicker. So I thought, oh my God, how are these fight scenes going to be? You know, I'm on my left side doing everything. And we did it. And when the movie came out, the fight scenes like were phenomenal, you know. So I think just all that the pain I was going through when I was doing those, but that's just kind of how I roll, you know. Like it's okay, yeah, my knee is like popping out like every so often, but you know what? I am gonna make this a good fight scene. So when I see that, that's what I remember. And you know, the choreography is brilliant. And again, I like that challenge, like things that you can't just train someone, you know, a couple months to go do that and make it look effective.
All right. I love the idea that Black Creek is going to be a Western meets martial arts. Have you always just been a fan of Westerns? Like what made you want to do that?
I have always been a fan of Westerns, you know, and I've always thought, you know, I'd always like to play Annie Oakley or some, you know, character like from the Old West. And I think what, you know, the resurgence of Western for me is that I love like Yellowstone and those series, you know, and I love the Kevin Costner character. And I just, you know, I Google, you know, female gunslingers, and really like Selma Hayek comes up, you know, or something, or, you know, Sharon Stone. And I thought, wow, I really want to be like the first gunslinger, the tough woman that, you know, really, really can fight.
Now, with the current landscape, who do you see as like someone that's like, you know, like a rising star in the martial arts scene, or do you see any at all? You know,
Maybe my daughter.
hey, but
Okay.
you go ahead. Yes.
She will be in this. She will be in it. I'm gonna put her in it, but she's not as into martial arts as I am, but she's very flexible. She was a professional dancer, and you know, she's been around martial arts all her life. So I keep telling her, I said, okay, after this, everybody's gonna know who you are.
That's way cool. And a lot of people don't know. I found this out recently, and I should have known this. You were the inspiration for the Sonya Blade character from Mortal Kombat. Did anyone ever tell you that, like when they first came out with the game, or?
You know, when that was first coming out, I talked to the producer, and they, you know, they didn't want to pay me then. They wanted someone that they didn't have to pay. So what they did is they copied my likeness. Even if you go to Wikipedia, it says Cynthia Rothrock was Sonya Blade. And because they copied my move that I developed and my hairstyle and everything. And for the longest time, I'd go out and little kids would be going, Sonya Blade, Sonya Blade. And I'm like, well, okay, I will send the autograph, but I'm not really Sonya Blade. Technically, I am, but I'm not, you know. So it was all, you know, it was crazy. Yeah.
Wow. Well, we have to petition to get you as the actual Sonya Blade. And we also at one time wanted to petition to get you in like a new Expendables movie as well.
We did, yes.
I
We
know.
wanted
Do you know there was a lot of petitions out there for the Expendables, you know, and then there was a lot of petitions out there to get in Cobra Kai because, you know, they mentioned me in a scene. So I've had like a lot of petitions, and it's like, well, maybe now that I'm doing my own movie and it's going to be so successful, these people will realize, hey, you know, this girl's got fans, you know, they're still out there. But it's funny, in the Expendables, they had all the men, you know, but it was like, where's me? You know, I was the only woman out there doing that then. But yeah, so maybe Stallone will see this.
Yeah.
Well, I think he's taking over the Expendables now.
So for you, you know, for doing martial arts and everything like that, like what tips do you give to people, not just, you know, wanting to do film, but martial arts in general, or combining the two? What do you tell people, like, you know, if you want to go into the movie business, you know, of course, like, you know, there's stunt work, there's, you know, you can be your own star. What do you tell people that want to go down that path?
Well, first of all, I tell them, you know, to make sure their martial arts is really good, you know, that they're proficient in what they do. Maybe get into a good acting class. Because nowadays, you know, you know, they're looking at, oh, well, I'm not going to use this person because they could fight. I'm going to use this person because they can act better. So it's a good combination to have acting experience, and that maybe take a lot of fight choreography seminars if they ever come up, or enroll in a good stunt school. Usually by doing stunts is an easier way to get into the film business, because it's very rare, especially, you know, there's not a whole lot of action movies, and you know, the percentage of people that do them is so small. So it's good to come in the back door into stunts and then get into it. I was lucky, you know, it doesn't usually happen where, you know, you get a Corey Yuen that says, I want that girl and star her in an action movie.
Well, before we let you go, we have to say it's blackcreekmovie.com that will take everyone to the campaign. And where else can people keep track of all your going-ons on the internet here?
Well, I'm very dominant on Facebook. You know, I keep in contact with my fans. I constantly post what I'm doing, where I'm going. If it's a pertinent message, I will message them. So Facebook, there's a lot of fakes out there, but I guess you'll know it's me because I post like a lot of like my personal stuff and journeys. And then I'm also on Instagram, which is Cynthia Rothrock Official. Again, there's a lot of Cynthia Rothrocks there that aren't me. And I'm on Twitter as well. And I have a YouTube channel, which is Cynthia Rothrock channel.
Well, thank you very much for joining us.
Yes.
The legend, the pioneer, Cynthia Rothrock. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you.
Peace.
Peace.
Cool.